Hi, this is Philip from Metamonks, and today I'm going to show you how to build your first form with Gravity Forms. So we have a brand new, fresh WordPress install here. And before we get started building the actual form, we have to install the plugin, which means we go to Plugins, Add New. I have to upload the plugin because it's a pro plugin. It's not in the official WordPress repository. So I'm going to select the zip file, which you can download once you purchase Gravity Forms, and then click the Install Now button, which simply uploads it to your installation. And now I'm going to activate it. And the plugin is activated, so we can start using it right away. We recognize that in our WordPress admin dashboard, there's a new forms entry here, which is from Gravity Forms, and which, when we click it, shows us an overview about all the forms that we have. And yes, we don't have any forms, and we are gonna create one. So we call our first form, we call it contact, because that's a very typical form that every site needs. So as we can already see, here's a small instruction which explains us briefly how this editor works, but we can ignore it for now because I'm going to explain it to you. So for a typical contact form, we need, first of all, there's this message box. For that, we need a paragraph text field, and all the fields can be inserted via this right sidebar here. We see we have various categories for fields. We're gonna use mainly the standard fields today. So we need a paragraph text. And once I click that, this messy instruction here disappears and we see the actual form builder. And now we have the paragraph text field inserted here. It's untitled, and we don't want to have it untitled. So I just click it anywhere in the blue area, which opens up the options for that field. And I can call it message because that's typically what we use that for. We can set some settings. For example, we can set it as required, which would make sense for a typical contact form. We also have access to an advanced tab, which we skip today, but we'll use in other tutorials for sure. So for now, I can close again here the options. I can also trigger it with that button, but I prefer clicking in the blue area, light blue area. So the message field is set up. We also typically want the people to leave their name and email address. For that, we go to the advanced fields, and it already suggests us a name field as well as an email field. I just click those two buttons, which adds them to the editor on the left. And yeah, I would like to be the name on top and the email in between the two other fields. So I can rearrange that according to my preference just via drag and drop. I like the labels and descriptions for the name field, so I don't have to change it, but I set it to required as well. Same with the email. I like that it's called email because that makes sense. And I set it to required. So maybe a short note. Those fields could also be established by using single line text. I just create one for the sake of explanation. So I could, of course, also call a single line text field email and mark it as required, and it would look exactly like that. The advantage of the email field over the normal single line text field is that it's able to validate if there's a real email address entered or if it's just some other text string. So that makes just the email field very convenient, and that's why we use it. It's built in, so it's there. For the name, same, it's just very convenient. It's split in first and last automatically, and we don't have to create two. It's basically a little bit of a shortcut using that pre-prepared field here, which is under advanced fields. So I'm going to delete the untitled single line text field that I created just by hitting that X here. And I quite like it for now. I'm going to update the form, which is saving it at the same time. And I can have a look at a preview. That looks like expected. So let's go back to WordPress. That just opened up in a new tab. So I'd close the tab again. And of course, it's nice to have it here in the form editor, but where we ultimately want to have it is in our contact page. So I'll go over to the pages, navigate to the contact page. And here we see a new button since we installed Gravity Forms, which is called Add Form. That wasn't there previously. So I'm going to click that. I'm going to click Contact. And actually, I don't like what he suggests here with those check marks. So I typically set it to exactly the opposite setting. So I don't want to display the form title. I don't want to display the form description, because all the content I'm going to write on the page editor itself. I don't want to have this from Gravity Forms. But I want to enable Ajax, which is like a form submission without reloading the page. I like that. So I'm inserting the form with switching out those default settings that I don't like. And it inserts a shortcode here, which we can just save the page with. And now we can have a look at the page via View Page up here. I'm going to open that in a new tab. And that looks pretty much as the thing we want. I'm going to try it out, of course. And here we see the Ajax feature. That's the submission without reloading the page. That's the success message is by default hidden behind the admin bar, which the final user won't see. So I have to scroll up to see that. Usually it would be scrolled like here. Okay, so it says the form has been submitted successfully, which is nice. In case you're wondering how to change that text or also change the email, or maybe also change, I'm going to reload, going to change the submit button text here. All those things are in the form settings. So I go back to the WordPress backend, click on forms again, go to the contact form again. I could also use those shortcuts here, but I show you the long way for now. Go to form settings. And here I have all those settings. I can change the button text from submit to send, for example. I can and should enable the anti-spam honeypot, which just reduces spam, form spam with a single mouse click. It's great. I also like animations. Why not have animations? And those are some good settings here for starting out. I'm going to update them. And two more things to look at here. One are the confirmations. That's the small text we've just talked about, which currently says, "Thank you, thanks for contacting us. We will get in touch with you shortly." A typical, I mean, for a contact form, that's fine. Sometimes you maybe are not an us kind of company, but you are more a me kind of company. So you can change from the plural to singular. Just sounds more fitting in many cases. So I've changed that now, but we could also redirect the person to a different page on your site, which is like a thank you page, and you could offer additional downloads or whatnot on that page, or you could redirect to an external page as well. A little bit too much for the basic tutorial today, but we'll go into this at another time. But the last thing I want to show you today is setting the notifications, which is compared to the confirmations. Confirmations are the message the user is getting. Notification is the message you are getting. It's like per default, there's already an admin notification set up. We can configure that, and it's automatically sent to admin email, which is typically yours when you are the site admin. I could also write my personal email in here, which is slightly different. And I can change the subject line. For example, I find that very unpersonal. I like to write there something more like name has filled out the contact form. And so I can also replace this name, of course, which makes more sense to have it filled out with the content of the form, and I can access this here. So the actual name the user is putting in, I can access it here via this arrow. It's a merge tag, as you see when you hover it, and I can click first name, and then he'll automatically inserts me this kind of dummy code, which will just say Philip has filled out the contact form if Philip is the name the person puts in there, which is much nicer. In your emails, especially if you use Gmail, you have a separate thread for each contact form because they don't get put together by Gmail with the same subject line. And I can also change the from email with the same kind of merge tag. So it makes a lot of sense to have the contact form sent from the person's email that is actually filling it out, because then in Gmail or whatever you are using, you can just hit reply and reply back to the message the person sent you. Makes sense, right? So I'll just update the notification according to the settings I just made. And yeah, that makes sure I get a nice email, which I can handle. I can just reply to. The user, again, gets a nice confirmation, which is, yeah, just fitting our company size, or we can also have a custom message here. And we have implemented all what we have created here into the WordPress page. So I think that's it for today. We'll go into more depth and into more hacks another time, but for today you're set. So yeah, consider getting Gravity Forms. It's a really helpful plugin, and every other form solution for WordPress takes much longer to set those things up and is much more limited in its advanced use. So highly recommended from our side. We use it with all of our clients. Have a great day.